welcome back to Mike Warriors here. We are doing our Brawl 66 recap. It was an amazing card. I'm Hydrate, that's UCW. We had, like I said, because I am stumbling over my words already, we had an amazing card with plenty of shocking moments. We had some upsets, we had some not upsets. We had one hell of a title change. But first off, we had two rookies going at each other in the heavyweight division. UCW, you want to give a little explanation on that and how that finished?
We had Jay Prince versus Trav Dog. Trav Dog is a respected vet. He just looked a step too slow in this one, in my opinion. I think the takeaway for everybody should definitely be that youth isn't waiting its turn anymore in SMFC. Everybody who's come in young, other than Adam Thomas, has really shown out and said, hey, I'm going to go get one. You might knock me down on my ass, but I'm at least going to go get one. Jay Prince has come out 2-0 at this point, I believe. It's a steady climb. He's got some believable momentum. With him being very new into SMFC and coming in and already two fights under his belt, he's taken them both down via knockout. And I feel like we got 4 or 5 more of those until we start asking when he wins his shot at the heavyweight championship. When are we going to see somebody who came from the heavyweight division go for the championship?
That is a very good point. Jay Prince has been showing out 2 round 1 knockouts back to back. Momentum like this, as we've seen with the likes of Timothy Collins, who we'll get into later on in the episode, it carries over and it stacks fast. So if Jay Prince can keep this up, we could be looking at Jay Prince as a possible title contender before even Brawl 74 or whatever. Moving on, though, we go from 2 rookies in the heavyweight division to 2 veterans in the middleweight division. Kobu Pantheon versus Greg Hayes. This was a pretty good fight in my personal opinion, and a much-needed win for Kobu Pantheon, who got the round 2 switch kick knockout. It continues his resurgence, his possible swan song as retirement rumors swirl for Kobu, as he knocked out Greg Hayes, who has not been able to get any momentum going in quite a long time. Greg Hayes might need to look at switching up his fighting style, but Kobu bounced back up into the top 5 and is maybe just a couple wins away from his own title shot. What do you think about that, UCW?
I think pretty violence counts the same as regular violence when it's on a scorecard, in all honesty. However, what I will say is I have not been able to escape that switch kick for the last 3 days. It's everywhere. I see it on Twitter. I see it everywhere. Pantheon, if he's on his way out, he's making sure that he gets sent out the way he wants on his terms, not on anybody else's. And I honestly feel kind of sorry for Hayes. He's been the victim to a couple of different come-up stories from guys who are on missions. And, I mean, it's not like he's looking bad or anything out there. I mean, he took Pantheon to the second round, but he's just getting taken apart by people who have something to prove at this point. Which, I mean, could be good for him, though, because at what point is he going to have something to prove, which means he's going to become one of these guys who starts tearing through the roster?
That is a very good point. And moving on to the next fight, we went over to the heavyweight division, a classic rookie versus veteran story. You want to walk us through that one?
We got Dakari Kane versus Elliot Southey. This is a shocking knockout. The reaction clip from Kane... Chaos builds stars faster than polish, man. That's really all I've got to say. I think Wildcard Kane might be the new name, because
that is a very good point. Dakari Kane making a statement of sorts to not underestimate him, as has been said by Dustin Hunter. He's a very unpredictable person and can land when it matters most. Elliot Southey's been up and down the card for a long time. He's one of the real veterans of SMFC, but he just could not predict what Dakari Kane was going to do, and it led to the first round knockout for Dakari Kane. Elliot Southey, I have no doubt that he's going to rebound from this, but as of right now, it's what we should be focusing on is how high is the ceiling for Dakari Kane after a win like this.
What I always try and say is try and rebound harder than you hit the mat. Only you know how hard that hurt, how much that hurt. You know what I'm saying? Only you know what it felt like to go down, not get back up, and for the fight to stop. Make the come up hit harder. It's really the only thing I've got for Southey. Kane, however, keep it coming, brother.
Yeah, keep it coming. And moving on to the next fight, we had a middleweight fight between two of the old guard here at SMFC, Dad Trainer versus James McMahon. And this was a surprising one, if I'm going to be honest with you. Dad Trainer getting a round 2 knockout. Not just any kind of knockout. He two-pieced James McMahon with a double jab to finally get a comeback/rebound win after that title loss a couple brawls ago. He finally earned some much-needed momentum here against the human highlight reel, and like I said, that was a very shocking victory in my opinion.
I see a bunch of people saying McMahon is washed. I see a bunch of people saying that McMahon's on the downfall. I just think he's getting outpaced by some younger guys. It's just natural to happen as you get farther into your career. You're not going to be the fastest anymore. You're not going to be the youngest. I think what he needs to do is keep it short. He needs to bridge it. He needs to bridge his movements. He needs to bridge into his motions better and pull everything together to try to put things away before that pacing can get away from him. However, on the DT side, man, to pull it back to basketball, this guy's looking like you could put him in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, and he could dominate all three the way that he's out there fighting. You could put him in boxing, and he'd dominate with just the jab. You could put him in pride wrestling or pride fighting and the beginning of UFC when it was a little more hardcore, and he'd be kneeing you in the jaw until you couldn't stand up. And then you've got where we are now, where he's taking it into completely standard, bunch of rules, bunch of regulations. He's still showing up, two-piecing people, and then walking out.
Yeah, that is a good point there. He could possibly dominate in any era, like you mentioned. And this was a much-needed win. Hopefully, we see more of it from Dad Trainer. Because as a personal opinion here for a second, I'm a big fan of Dad Trainer. And I would like to see this more often from this kind of showcase. But we've been talking a lot about veterans so far in this episode, and that does not go away just yet because we had two more veterans in the next fight. You wanna walk us through that one, because it was a pretty good fight, in my opinion.
The walking explosion, Tony Tornado versus Dustin Rhodes. Ladies and gentlemen, one man exploded and one man imploded. Tornado is incredibly efficient. He is incredibly brutal. He shows up, knocks people out on a regular basis. He might lose a couple of fights in his career, but the way that he is able to come back from losses and just say, hey, I don't matter no more, and then knock the guy in front of him out is absolutely insane. Rhodes looked a little slower. It looks like he's lost a little bit of timing. Even Dustin Hunter said that rematches aren't charity. My main takeaway is, what do we want from Rhodes, not from Tony Tornado. Tony's doing everything that we want, in my opinion. For as a fan, as a commentator on the sport, there's not really much that you can ask from him.
I don't know. I think what we would want from Dustin is to maybe take a step back for a week or two, try to, switch things up in the training camp, because something's not working. And that's sad to see, because a lot of people were really getting behind Dustin Rhodes at the end of the light heavyweight division and then into the start of the heavyweight division. A lot of people were starting to get behind him. They were starting to appreciate how he won and all his style of fighting and all that. But something's not working anymore. What was working isn't working, and I think he needs to go and reevaluate things, or this downward slope that he's starting on could get very slippery very quickly, and he could find himself at the bottom of the rankings.
I think you're completely right. I think he needs to pull back now. Take a second before sit the next card out. Just breathe, get back to himself, because at a certain point he's going to start fighting himself as well as his opponent. And if you're fighting two people at once, you're not going to win that fight. Very rarely do we see guys who have been on the downward decline, who we can tell that it's getting to their head, we can tell that they're not taking it well, and they come back out on top. It's happened. I'm not going to say it's impossible. But I definitely think getting your mental correct is where you need to go for the next week. Maybe 2. Get yourself right. Then come back in.
Yeah. Speaking of getting mental, we have the rise of the ever so cocky rookie Timothy Collins continue in the next fight as he knocked out Noah Chapman in round 1. Surprisingly, to be honest, that fight was incredibly back and forth. Both men were rocking the ever-loving shit out of each other. But Timothy Collins continues to not only disrespect people, but back it up in the process. He got a very important win here, and now he's possibly just like one fight away from a title shot, because he's now number 3 in the rankings with this win. He's very disrespectful, yes, but at this point, who wants to try and step up to stop him?
Well, we're not going to disregard the fact that he called out Dustin Hunter. That's my first point. That's my main point. He called out Dustin Hunter. And I know last week in the pre-show, I said that I'm a little bit of a Timothy Collins fan. I'm rocking with the boy. I like him. The cockiness, the swagger. It reminds me of old school Kane, kind of. I mean, I like it. And then he went and called out the CEO. And I don't really know how to feel about that because, like, he pays us. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't really know what to say right now.
I don't know if calling out the person who signs your checks is the smartest move, or because a fun little stat fact there while we're talking, Dustin Hunter was on a 9-fight win streak before he retired.
I don't think that we should villainize Collins, just in all honesty. I think it's inevitable that somebody's going to come in, have the same attitude as somebody. The people who are calling the problem child, that's gimmick infringement, and we all know why. I'm gonna agree with it, but we all know why we can't say that. I think Collins realized that he's making Hunter talk, and I think Collins is... Hold on. I think Collins has realized that people are noticing, Hunter's noticing. I think that he's realizing that he's got a little bit of power in his hands now, and I'm not talking about how hard he punches. But I also think that Hunter might be itching for a fight, because if you look at his reaction, the way he was talking, he clenched up on that pen a little bit. He might have wrinkled that paper a little bit while he was talking about Collins. You could tell it got under his skin.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to get to him, but you can't deny it forever. Collins has the power behind the punches, and he has the mouth. How much longer till we possibly see, I don't know, what if he's the one that drags Hunter out of retirement? You know, like, that could very well happen with how he's been reacting to Timothy Collins' rise as of late.
My money's on Hunter. I'm just, I think I'm obligated to say that, so I'm going to go ahead and say that. But I also do believe that Hunter will whoop that kid's ass.
Speaking of kids, we had probably the upset of the fucking century in the co-main event of the night. Andy Knight became the third person in history to ever defeat Hassan Malkova. You wanna talk about that one a little?
This shit ain't hype, it's validation. This is the moment Andy Knight's been waiting for to prove that he is here. That arm triangle finish, brother. Let me tell you, I was jumping out of my seat. You could not contain me watching that clip back, getting prepared for this. He was calm, he was patient, he was professional. He took Malkova down, made it look simple. I don't think he fights with emotion, man. I think he fights with math at this point. I think he's way more calculated than a lot of people give him credit for, and I think he's coming at this in a completely different angle than anybody is expecting at the moment.
It would certainly seem, because if you remember not too long ago when he took his first loss, we were talking about it on here, and we said, will he learn from it, and will he come back stronger? And I would certainly say he's come back stronger, tapping out.
He didn't even knock on the door. He banged the motherfucker down. Like, he got it. He got it.
He's like, hey, I learned. I'm here now. Where's my shot? He tapped out the silverback gorilla himself. Man, if I were Dustin Hunter, and I'm not, but if I were, I would look at giving Andy Knight possibly the next heavyweight title shot, because he was already very high in the rankings. He was already number 4. But now he not only beat the number 1 ranked, but it was also fucking Hassan Malkova that we're talking about here. I would look at him possibly being in the next heavyweight title fight.
Moving into title fights, to segue, we had the Ghost Killer Robert Zodiac defeating Walter Brooks. Knocked his ass out cold. This time he dominated. Came back from that overhand just like I was hoping. He looked controlled, he looked deliberate, he looked violent. He looks like a champion once again, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't just win, he studied Brooks. You can tell that since the moment Brooks took him down, he's been watching tape, learning how he fights, watching what he does, learning his adjustments as he gets better. Because I'm not going to take anything away from Walter Brooks. This man has been dominant. and Zodiac has been watching the whole time.
Yeah, this was a surprising one, to be honest with you. We all know, and everybody was saying it, Hunter was saying it, there was history, and Zodiac was confirmed to have been learning from this and was to have been studying and doing his homework, but I don't think any of us expected the result that we ended up seeing, because he completely outclassed Walter Brooks, to be honest with you. Didn't let him get out the gate. Walter Brooks looked like he was fucking in his first fights all over again. He didn't know what to do there. He couldn't get comfortable, and Zodiac knocked his ass out cold in the first round. Walter Brooks, I don't even know what to say there.
I know what to say. Who's next? Wilkins or Collins?
Yeah, and more importantly, what's next for Walter Brooks? Because as of right now, as of this exact moment, Walter Brooks is technically still number one in the rankings because of the fact of losing the title, but he had a title defense. But what's next? You can't assume that he's going to go back for the title right away. At least I would not assume that he's going to do that. It's impossible to read into the mind of these fighters, but if I were Walter, I would start looking at, what do I do from here?
Taking a loss like that's definitely hard to come back from. We've seen him come back from things just like this, though. I'm not counting him out by any means, but he does have to come back up the division. He does have to fight back, and the division looks a little different than it did the last time he had to make his way through it. There's new challenges ahead of him for sure.
There's a lot.
Speaking of not being able to read people's minds and not knowing what comes with the future, it's time to overanalyze Dustin Hunter, ladies and gentlemen.
Time for everybody's favorite part of Mike Warriors.
So, first off, every answer to any question that any of the reporters asked him sounded like he was challenging people. It sounded like a challenge in disguise. He said, I build fights that matter. Rematches aren't charity. Keep your phones charged. I keep my phone charged anyway. I don't need you to tell me to keep my phone charged. Why do I need to keep my phone charged?
Yeah, that's a good point there. It seems to me, honestly, like if I had to say it in a short way as I can, it seems Hunter's enjoying almost messing with all of us, especially the reporters and us in particular. It's almost, if I could read into his mind, which, like you said, we can't, but if I could, it would seem like he's almost just trying to get a rise out of us in particular, because he knows we overanalyze everything he does.
I think we have to start treating Dustin Hunter like an apex predator with a press pass. He is on a leash for press passes and on a leash for press releases, but when he is not in front of those cameras, there's nobody who knows what Dustin Hunter has been doing. That makes him the most lethal, scariest person in SMFC. He also has the power to, on any given night, if he feels like he's ready, book himself.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. The CEO wanting to get back in the cage. I don't think anybody could stop him, nor would anybody try to, because, well, like we mentioned earlier, he signs the checks. I think at this point, as if it wasn't already clear, it's a matter of when, and I think that time, the when in particular, is going to be a lot sooner than people think.
We had talked earlier before we started recording, then I said the veterans aren't gone, they're just getting hunted. I think an extra layer of that is that the veteran might be doing the hunting.
Yeah.
It's not coincidental that he's sitting here watching, having these very cold, calculated responses to people who have talked shit directly to him without knowing at any given moment I could get in that octagon. And it seems like he's even realized that at any given moment he needs to be able to get into that octagon, because in the last few months we've seen him get way more built underneath that little suit jacket that he wears.
He tries to hide it, but he's getting jacked, and while he has said many a times that he enjoys training and that you can't take it out of the fighter, that only goes so far before we're like, are we sure that's what it's for? Or are you training? Are you training for a purpose? You know?
I also think that with the reset in the roster, I mean, the energy in the room definitely says, hey, there's new people here that are here for gold. They're here to do the damn thing. I think he might even be getting excited where he's just like, I haven't beat this guy. I haven't beat this guy. This guy could probably learn a couple of things from me, because the Dustin Hunter's always been I'm going to show up and whoop your ass, but you're going to walk out with a lesson as well. Whether you're the person who turns losses into lessons, he makes sure you come out a better fighter after you leave the octagon with him.
Yeah. Nobody's ever left the same. They've all left better, if anything. But the question is, like, at that point, because if on the occasion that he does return, what division does he go for? Because, like you said, there's been a lot of new people coming in, and he could be like, ooh, I haven't faced that person yet. Ooh, I haven't faced that person yet. But what division should he even go for if he were to come back?
I think he goes heavyweight. My honest opinion, I think he goes heavyweight. He was a power puncher. He could get on the ground, he could submit, but he was a power puncher. Knockout engine. A lot of our knockout engines have moved into that bigger division to throw with the bigger punches, to be able to slow the pace down a little bit, to prioritize power. I think he might believe that if he moves into that division, he's still quick enough to do everything that he did at a smaller weight, but throw the weight behind a stronger punch.
That is a good point. He was a power puncher who did actually have some submission prowess as well. And I think it would be easier to move up from a light heavyweight weight area to a heavyweight weight class than it would be to go down to middleweight. And like we said, he's been putting on bulk. He hasn't been losing it, which he would have to do to head down to middleweight.
Nobody likes cutting weight. It's the worst part of your workout. Just gain it, eat a bunch, put on the muscle, and then just move up the division. Especially since he's been out of the octagon for so long. Not saying that he's got the ring rust or anything like that, but I mean, just you've gotten comfortable at a certain weight and being able to have a certain diet. You're also the CEO of a company, and the company's way bigger now. You got to give yourself a little bit of leniency. If he moves up to heavyweight, he's got a little bit more comfort in his actual life. Where if he moves down, he's gonna be watching what he eats for the rest of the time he's on the roster and all that shit.
Yeah, what he eats, how many calories, how much he works out, what he does.
He already enjoys working out, but at what point in cutting weight, we all know working out becomes a chore because you're having to do it to get to a certain level. Whereas if you're bulking, you can still have a little bit of that fun time to maybe take a day off, go have a cheat day, and then work it off in the gym tomorrow.
That is a very, very good point there. Anyway, that's going to about wrap it up for Mike Warriors. Unless UCW has any finishing comments, I'm going to do my sign-off and then invite him to do his. That has been Mike Warriors. I'm Hydrate. That's UCW.
I am User Unknown.
And we'll see you next week with our Brawl 67 predictions. Take care.
And more over analysis on Dustin Hunter.